Today happened to be Sunday, February the 23rd, 2020. The time being is 3:34 p.m. here in Charleston, Missouri. Those that don't know, this C.F. Bowen Center is formerly known as the Lincoln School, of which my dad and a lot of other people in Charleston, Missouri, this is where the blacks, only where the blacks had to go to school for their high school until 1961, into a family by the name of Davis. If you Google up Davis versus the Charleston, Missouri Consolidated Schools number 7, or the Charleston, Missouri Board of Education, you would see it took a federal lawsuit to be able for the blacks to be able to go to what is called now the Charleston R1 School District, which it was called the Charleston, Missouri Consolidated Schools number 7 then. But he wants you to take a look. You remember this town is 5,947 people, give or take. With the latest census, it was in I think 2010, it was 5,534 people. Now this is a Black History program, more than likely the NAACP here in Charleston, Missouri. They have the programs here. But I want you to see the turnout. Blacks here in Charleston, Missouri is 51% black. You see the turnout? A few people left earlier, but you can tell it wasn't people from the community because they had these big, expensive trucks on the west side of town. Most people don't have those, if any at all. But this is how they draw them. You see food. You draw them food when you know, sadly to say, sometimes with some black people, when you talk about giving out food, and this is not to all black people. You know, this is the way of certain people that don't really care nothing about the community. This how they draw them in. Now, when you're talking about fighting discrimination, racial discrimination in the Charleston R1 School District, you won't see a crowd like this here. You won't see these big, expensive trucks because they don't care. If you're talking about fighting racism in the Charleston, Missouri Police Department, you ain't gonna find it. Law enforcement, fighting against racist law enforcement officials, you ain't gonna find it. If you talk about fighting against racism in the courts here in the 33rd Circuit Court here in Mississippi County, Charleston, Missouri, you ain't gonna find it. But I just want to show y'all, you know, here it is. Just not me, but other people is fighting racism in the Family Dollar store here in Charleston, Missouri, which is located at 601 Main Street in Charleston, Missouri, Mississippi County. You can't get these people to come. You see these church vans. You see what I'm saying? You see these transportation vans. You know, most of them used to be preachers. Now what they do, this is a location almost like a slave location as far as for blacks that used to be preachers. They get these people that government pay to work at these factories, and then they take them. They charge them a certain amount of money, and then the government pay them, and then the people who ride on their in their vans pay them. But this is what I just wanted to show y'all about Charleston, Missouri. One thing about it, they'll have these Black History programs, but they're not gonna stand on Black history. This school, Lincoln School here, which is the C.F. Bowen Center now, like I said, in 1961, the Davis family, it was Annie Davis and her 2 daughters, her daughter and her son, Johnny Davis and Barbara Davis, filed a lawsuit. Barbara and Johnny was youths then, so they couldn't file it, but their mother filed it. This was she lived right here, right across the street from that school. May she rest in peace now. May Barbara and Johnny rest in peace. But I give them a thumbs up. This is where Miss Annie Davis was staying. I was staying right down the street at the house that's right on the corner there, the yellowish like house. With my grandfather, may he rest in peace, Barry Ive, who died in 1965, who they built from the ground. And my grandmother, Flora Lee Ivy Scott, who she passed away, may she rest in peace, in 1997. But this is where Miss Annie Davis lived, in this little lot right here. They tore a house down a few years ago. She passed away. But anyway, you ain't gonna hear them talk about these people. That's history for Charleston, Missouri. Now, this street right here that you see them on, it used to be called Elm Street 24 years ago when I came down there. Now it's called Cy Williams Street, because of the present NAACP president here in Charleston, Missouri, and the Susanna Wesley and some other blacks and whites got together and said that it was a slave that was named Cy Williams here from Charleston, Missouri, so they named this street after him. You would think the Davis family would have a bunch of recognition. Annie Davis, Barbara Davis, and Johnny Davis would have a bunch of recognition because they stood up against the racism in Charleston, Missouri in the 50s and the 60s and won a lawsuit that said that the white people can no longer keep the blacks out of the other schools where they had better material. I'm just gonna leave y'all as I came, but I tell you one thing, you will see for sure, me and my daughters is fighting a racial discrimination and racial profiling at the Family Dollar store here that happened to my two daughters on February the 13th, 2020. And a racial discrimination against me, October the 23rd, 2019, at the same store by a white female by the name of Teresa Danielle Carr, that's C-A-R-R. They finna go in and tell them I'm videoing, but I got it right. Peace, be still.